Hello and welcome to Lesson 2 of the Grade 2 Theory Tutor Book. This lesson shows the teaching aims at the top, which are finding out about dotted quavers, beaming notes correctly, grouping of rests and tied notes. So straight away the book talks about the dotted quaver. Now what you've got to remember is the dotted quaver is worth 3/4 of a count. Remember, by putting a dot on it, you're making the note half as long again. So the example shows the quaver with the semiquaver added together equals dotted quaver. So here it says draw the treble clef and then practice writing some dotted quavers on the stave below. You can choose any note you like to write, it doesn't matter. Then we go on to a page which talks about the beaming of notes. So sometimes semiquavers can be grouped together with a dotted quaver to produce a value of a crotchet beat, and this is shown like that. So you've got your dotted quaver and your semiquaver, and together both of those equal a crotchet. When you do this and you put a line over the top, it's called beaming, and this is your beaming of the notes. So your first exercise here is to practice writing some of the dotted quavers joined to a semiquaver on the stave. And then after that, you've got some more examples showing you different ways of beaming the notes. So 2 single quavers can be put together to make one beamed note, which forms like a crotchet beat. 4 semiquavers can be beamed together to form a crotchet beat. You can have 2 semiquavers and a quaver beamed together to make a crotchet beat. And then it's reversed around here. And finally, you've got a semiquaver, a quaver and a semiquaver all grouped together to equal the crochet beat. So when you've got a simple time signature like 2/4, 3/4 and 4/4, always remember to try and beam the notes into crotchets so that you equal the crochet beat, which is the bottom number signified on the time signature. So here you've got a little exercise with the notes not beamed at all, and you're asked to beam the notes correctly to form a piece of music. Then we move on to a section that looks at rests, and we're looking at how rests should be placed in music, and it follows the same rule of thumb really, that when you write the rest you just got to be careful that you don't go over the natural crotchet beat within each bar. So when beaming notes, we saw that the main aim was to achieve ease of reading. The same rule applies when grouping rests. And then it says, here are some important tips to remember. In a 4/4 time signature, you cannot group rests across the middle of a bar. So always separate the bar with 2 crotchet rests rather than a minim rest. And it shows the example there of what you do. And then it says, where rests are included that total less than a beat, then always group in half beats like this. So you've got a semiquaver, and so you've got to put the semiquaver rest to balance that to start with. Then you've got your quaver rest there. So together, all of those equal the crotchet, and then after that you can put the crotchet rest. Then you have a little exercise where rests are missing, and you're asked to add suitable rests in this piece of music to make it balanced. Now on the next page, I've devised a really suitable table, which you will find very useful for later on with your theory as well as you go through the grades. So it's going to be a Bible sheet for you in a way. And I've written down your notes, and then the name of the note, the counts and the rest that goes with it. And you've got all the notes written from semi-brief right the way through to semiquaver. So the last section of this session is talking about grouping of tied notes. So the same thing applies with rests and beaming of notes and ties. You've got to be careful where you put your ties so that you don't go across the bar. So just to show you here, it says, when beaming notes, we saw that the main aim was to achieve ease of reading. The same rule applies when grouping tied notes. Here are some important tips to remember. Ties are used when a note needs to be held across a bar line. There. Ties are also used when a note cannot be shown with a single note value. And then ties are also used to allow a beat to be clearly seen. So they're the three main reasons why you use ties. And so remember those reasons and try not to deviate from those. So then you've got some questions to answer here. The first one says, write a treble clef, then a 2/4 time signature, write a crotchet rest, then write a tied note of middle C. Complete the second bar with rests. So in other words, you're writing the tie over the bar line. Then the next question says, write a bass clef, then a 2/4 time signature, write quavers on the B above the stave in the first bar, write 4 crotchets on the A above the stave, and then it says tie 2 notes. So you can choose which 2 notes you wish to tie, paying attention to what I've mentioned here. And that completes lesson 2.